Hey you guys, Mr. Waltz here. I'm going to show you how to do the washer for the fidget spinner. The washer is going to be part of the hub. You're going to have two pieces. One's called the washer, one's called the nut, and there'll be a screw also. So this will be like the center of the fidget spinner. So to do this, we're going to use a tool called Revolve, which we haven't used before. Um, I think we used it a little tiny bit. And so what we want to do is basically cut this piece open and make a sketch in here in the middle. So we're going to click the sketch tool, and I'm going to click the YZ plane, which is right here. And so I want to sketch in the middle, but I can't do it because I can't see what's going on. So there's a trick here. If you go over in your sketch palette, one of your options is called slice. And what slice will do is actually cut the part in half right at the sketch plane. So if you click slice, it will actually slice this thing over so we can see inside here. All right. Now we're going to draw some new parts in here, but we need those new parts to fit the parts that are here. So we have the bearing here. So we got to make it fit the bearing. So what we want to do is bring the bearing partially into our sketch. The way we're going to do that is we're going to use a tool called project. Okay. So it's called project include. And basically what this does is it takes things that are 3D objects and it puts them into sketches. And there's a bunch of ways to do it. The one we're going to use is called intersect. And what's going to do is find where this part intersects our sketch and draw some lines there so we can use those lines for our design. So we click intersect here. Now, these lines, we want them to appear as construction lines. And remember, construction lines won't extrude or anything like that. They're just there as guides. Um, and also here, you can see the intersect tool. So we click construction. On the intersect tool, it wants us to click on some geometry, click on some stuff. The selection filter, you could do specifies entities or bodies, and bodies is the best way to go. And what I'm going to do is just click on two parts of the bearing. I'm going to click on this piece, which is called the inner erase. And then I'm going to click on this top piece, which is called the outer erase. And then I'm just going to click OK. And what it's going to do, it's kind of hard to see, but it's going to add a bunch of stuff to our sketch. So we'll go back to our right plane here, and we'll look at this. And if I hide the bearing, so go over here in the browser, I'm going to hide the bearing, I'm going to hide the rotor, I'm going to hide the other bearings. And what you'll see is we have a trace here in construction lines of that bearing that's in there. And we can use this to guide our design because we're going to make pieces that fit in the middle of the bearing. So at this point, I want to go to the palette. I'm going to turn off construction lines. And I'm going to draw a center line first, okay? And so I turn on center line, I click line, and I'm going to draw this right here on the x-axis. Don't draw it at the origin. Just go like over here to the left of the origin on the x-axis and just draw a little line there, okay? Kind of like that, all right? And you'll see later that this line is important. Whenever you do things that are revolved parts, you want to have a center line. And so what we're going to do then is we're going to draw the top half of the profile of the piece we want, and then revolve will make it. So I'm going to hit the line tool again. I'm going to make sure that center line is off. And what I'm going to do is go from here, go straight up until I hit the bearing. Boom. Then I'm going to go to the left. So draw a line going to the left. And what I want to do is go here. I want to go right under this point right here. So I'm going to come down there. Boom. So there's my next line. Then I want to go up here. I want to go straight up until I hit that point. Then I'm going to go to the left here a little bit. Draw that line. And then I'm going to go up here, go over to the right. And as I go over here to the right, what I want to do, I want to come out right above this point. So I have this point down here. I'm going to go register it. I'm not clicking on it. I'm just going to put this right about directly over that. And then I can go down. And you'll see as soon as I go down here, I've created a closed shape and it's going to show me that. So that's going to be my profile for this design. Um, right here. Now you can see the lines are blue, they need some constraints. So let's add the constraints we need. So first of all, we need a horizontal constraint on the center line. So I'm going to click horizontal constraint. I'm going to click this point right here. I'm going to click the origin. So that makes that line down there. Um, Now I need some dimensions. The outer diameter of this, I'm going to make this 23. So D for dimension. What you do to get a diameter, now this thing is going to go, the final part's going to go down here to the bottom also. It's going to go all the way around the circle. But what I can do is just click on the top and then click on the center line. And then if I go over here, it's going to let me put in a diameter. And so I'm going to make that 23. Now I don't know why I put it there. I'm going to hit escape and move it. Right, now I need a few other dimensions. You can see there's these steps here, so I just need to dimension the steps. This step here, the width is going to be 1.5. Boom. This step here, the width is going to be 0.5. And this step down here on the bottom, the width is going to be 1. Okay, and now you'll notice that my sketch is fully constrained. Everything is black. It looks good. And so we're done with this sketch. I'm going to hit finish sketch. You can see there it is. I go to my home view. You can see it. There's the sketch. Now what I want to do is create this. We're not going to extrude it. We want to make a round part. So we're going to use revolution. So here's revolve right here. We're going to click revolve. And you can see because we use the center line and we only have one sketch showing, the revolve tool is smart enough to detect the center line and say, oh, you probably want to revolve around that. If it doesn't do that, you can click profile and click on your shape here. And then you can click axis right here and click on the line that you want to use. But it worked perfectly for me. I'm going to hit OK. And you can see now I have this thing, and this is going to be our washer. If you want to, you can turn the bearing and the rotor on temporarily to see how it fits on there. So it's got a little bit of a gap there to make sure we have room between the bearing and the bearing and the two parts so they're not rubbing on each other. So that's cool. Next thing we're going to do here, let's put a fillet on it. So, oops, wrong tool, fillet right there. I'm going to click on this edge right here, and I'm going to make that radius be 1 millimeter. So that's filleted. And the other thing we need to do is we need to drill a hole in this. We're going to have a screw that goes in here. It's going to be a flathead screw, so we need what's called a countersink, okay? So we're going to click our hole tool right here, and it says placement, click face or sketch points. I'm just going to click on this front circle here. And you can see it gives me a hole. Well, I want that hole to go in the center of the part. So there's two ways to get that to happen. You could click on this outer circle. That will work. You could also try dragging the center point and it'll snap to the center. Either way is fine. So it's going to make a hole in this piece. The extents, well, we want it to go all the way through, right? So it's going to be a through hole. So I click all. So a hole type, what we want here is called a countersink hole. It's his third choice. It's got a cone-shaped hole that fits the head of a screw. The hole tap type, we want to use clearance, which means it's designed to fit around a screw. And then for drill point, we want flat. Okay, so countersink, clearance, drill point. Then what we do is tell it what kind of screw we're going to put in here. We're actually going to use what's called an M4 screw, but the screws that we have actually the heads are slightly undersized, so I found that it actually works better with an M3.5. So anti-metric M profile flathead machine screw, M3.5. The fit we want, so how do we want the screw to fit in there? Do we want it close, loose, or normal? We want it to be loose because again we have a slightly bigger screw than what they're expecting, so we use a loose fit. And then you can just hit OK, and then what it'll do is it'll actually cut the hole in there. Okay. I'm going to turn the bearing and the rotor off again so we can take a look at this and see what we got. So we got this piece here. It's got these three kind of steps on the back. And then on the front, it's got this nice countersink that's going to fit our screw. And we got a nice fillet out there to make it smooth. Last thing to do, we're going to do what we did before. So up here in bodies, right click, create a component. Click on the component. It's called component 3 here. Click again. And then we can rename this. It's going to be called the washer. We want to give this some material. So our do the same physical material, and I'm just going to use that same plastic that I used for the rotor. You can add whatever appearance you like to it, and then that's it. We'll see you in the next video. We'll make the next piece, which is called the nut. Good luck.